My sister-in-law borrowed $5,000 from my 70-year-old mother and then refused to repay her because, according to her, she's retired. What does she even need the money for? That was the moment I decided she needed to learn a lesson. The doorbell rang at 7:41 p.m., and I watched my sister-in-law's face lose its color before she could possibly have seen who was standing on the porch. That's the detail I keep coming back to. Not the folder, not what my brother said when he opened it. The half second before any of that, when Lauren was still holding her coffee cup and smiling at something Kyle had said about the pot roast, and the bell rang, and something in her just went, like a breaker tripping. She hadn't seen the man on my porch yet. She didn't need to. Some part of her had been waiting for that doorbell for 3 years, and it knew the sound. I'll get it, I said. I'm going to tell this in order because I've spent 12 years learning that the order is usually where the lie lives. But here's the short version. My mother is 70. She spent 22 years putting away $5,000, $20 and $40 at a time, for the day something broke. In February, my brother's wife asked her for all of it. In October, the refrigerator died, the money was gone, and when I called the woman who'd taken it, she laughed at me. Then she asked what a retired woman could possibly need $5,000 for. I decided to show her. I've been an auto physical damage claims adjuster for 12 years, the last 9 at Pacific Crest Mutual. If you've ever backed into a pole in a Target parking lot and called the number on your insurance card, you talk to someone like me. My job is stories. You tell me what happened to your car, then the car tells me what happened to your car. Then I figure out how far apart those two accounts are and what the company owes. What worries me is a story with no edges, a claimant who has an answer for everything before I ask. 12 years in, I can feel a clean story the way you feel a step that isn't there. My mother is Carol Brandt. She's 70, 5'2", and she ran the front office of a pediatrics practice for 31 years, which means she has made more grown men cry over unpaid copays than any collections agency in the state. My father, Frank, passed 8 years ago. The in-case fund was his idea. $5,000, he said, because 5,000 is a transmission, or a roof patch, or a funeral if you're not picky. In 22 years, my mother touched it twice, a water heater in 2011 and a deductible in 2019, and both times she built it back. After Dad, she put my name on her accounts. In case, she said. My brother Kyle is 34, 4 years younger than me, and the best HVAC tech at Delta Comfort Heating and Air. He is 6'3" and has never once in his life wanted to be in a fight with anyone. He fixes things for free. He believes people. He met Lauren 2 summers ago at a friend's barbecue. She was 34 then, dark-haired, quick, with the kind of laugh that makes a whole patio turn around. She said she was in marketing, between things. By the following August, they were married at the County Park Pavilion. 40 people, a taco truck, and not one guest from her side. Her family was complicated, she said. I let it go. Everyone's family is complicated. I noticed things anyway, because I notice things for a living and you don't get to turn that off. She paid the photographer in cash. She didn't have a credit card, on principle, she said, which is a principle I'd never heard anyone under 60 hold. Her Instagram started the month before she met my brother. At the reception, she told my Aunt Patty she'd grown up in Reno, and an hour later, she told me Sacramento. I told myself everybody edits their origin story a little. I told myself a lot of things that year. She was lovely to Mom in the room. She called on Mother's Day, on Christmas, and whenever her Civic needed something. She's sweet to me, Mom said once, and I said, she's sweet to you at your kitchen table. And Mom gave me the look that means I'm being my father. And then there's Ethan, who my family didn't know about yet. Ethan Marsh, 39, a civil engineer for the county, the kind of man who reads the whole lease. We met in March at a trivia night neither of us wanted to be at. After my divorce, I'd made a rule about not introducing anyone to my family until I was sure, so Ethan stayed mine for a while. He had one subject he wouldn't go near, and it was the woman he'd almost married 3 years earlier. I knew she'd asked him for $5,000 2 months before the wedding, and that there was no wedding. That was all he'd give me, and I'd learned not to push. In April, 6 weeks in, he was unpacking the last boxes from his move, and there was a manila folder on his desk with a photograph sticking out of it. I looked at it for exactly as long as it takes to decide not to ask. You don't ask about the folder at 6 weeks. I should have asked. I go to my mother's on Saturday mornings, not because she asks, because she doesn't. On the last Saturday in October, I let myself in at 9:06 with a bag of groceries and heard the wrong kind of quiet from the kitchen. A refrigerator makes a sound you never notice until it stops. Hers had stopped. The freezer door was hanging open. Melted ice had spread across the linoleum in a sheet and was working its way under the stove. Mom stood in the middle of it holding a dish towel in wet socks with a second towel over her shoulder like she was running a pit crew, 70 years old, cleaning up the mess by herself. She hadn't called me. She never did. The fridge was a Kenmore from 2004. It was older than Kyle's truck. I put my hand on the side panel and felt nothing. No hum, no vibration, just warm plastic. The compressor was gone. I've written enough total loss letters to no one when I'm standing in a puddle of it. Mom, this thing is finished, I said. Get your purse. We'll go buy another one today. She shook her head. I can't do that right now, honey. Why not? She twisted the towel in her hands. I don't have my savings anymore. I actually looked at the floor for a second, like the money might be down there with the ice. You had $5,000 saved. I lent it to Lauren. Lauren, my brother Kyle's wife, the woman who only called Mom on holidays or when she needed something. How much? All of it. She had a car accident. She said the repairs were expensive. When was she supposed to pay you back? By summer. It was almost November. Here is what happens in my head when someone says car accident and $5,000 in the same breath. $5,000 in repairs on a Civic is a real collision. A real collision has a claim number, an exchange of information, a photo of the other guy's license plate, an estimate with a VIN on it, a rental car. It has paper. It has edges. Did you see the car? I asked. She showed me a picture on her phone. Did she give you a claim number, a shop estimate, anything? Rachel, did she ask you to keep it from Kyle? My mother went back to the floor with the towel. That was the answer. I pulled out my phone. Rachel, please don't start a fight. I'm not starting anything, Lauren answered on the third ring, bright and cheerful. Rach, hey, when are you paying my mother back? A pause. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. Yeah, I borrowed the money. That wasn't my question. I clearly needed it more than she did. That was her emergency savings, Lauren. Her refrigerator just died. Why does your mom even need $5,000 sitting around? She's retired. What is she going to spend it on? I closed my eyes. That answer told me more than any apology ever could. It wasn't defensive. It wasn't embarrassed. It had the easy, practiced shape of something she'd said before, maybe many times, to people who were no longer in a position to argue. My mother's 22 years had just been reclassified, out loud, as money nobody was using. I have a rule at work. When a claimant tells you who they are, you stop arguing and start documenting. Come to dinner tomorrow night, I said. Family dinner, 7 o'clock. Really? Where's something nice? She said yes before she could wonder why I'd suddenly gotten so friendly. After I hung up, I did what I do after every call at work. I opened the notes app and typed it up while it was fresh. The date, 9:14 a.m., call with Lauren Brandt, approximately 4 minutes. Her words as close to exact as I could get them. People think adjusters live on photographs. We live on file notes. I didn't record the call. California is a 2-party consent state, and I'd like to keep my job. Then I went and found a mop, and then something nagged at me. $5,000. That exact number had come up before, 6 months ago, with Ethan, my boyfriend, the one my family didn't know about yet. His ex-fiancé had asked him for $5,000 2 months before their wedding. He hated talking about her, but I'd seen a photograph sticking out of a folder on his desk. Half a woman's face, dark hair, a small mole under one eye. Lauren had a mole in almost exactly the same place. I told myself it was ridiculous. There are a lot of dark-haired women, and 5,000 is the number people pick when they want it to sound like a real problem, but not a crisis. I told myself I was doing the thing I warn trainees about, which is deciding the answer and then going looking for it. Then I drove to Ethan's apartment anyway. I need to see that photograph, I said. He set down the dish he was holding, very slowly. Why? Because I think I know her. He didn't ask what I meant. I think that was the moment I understood how much he'd been carrying. He got the folder from the closet and laid the picture face up on the coffee table. Younger, different hair, softer face, same eyes, same smile, same mole. That's Lauren. Ethan stared at me. No, her name was Laura when I knew her. Laura Pruitt, office manager at a dental practice in Sacramento. Engaged 14 months. 2 months before the wedding, a tax bill she couldn't explain and couldn't show him. $5,000, please. She'd pay it back from her bonus. 3 weeks before the wedding, she was gone. Her number went to a stranger in 9 days. The venue kept his deposit. He'd gone to the police. They'd told him what the police always tell you. My hands were not quite steady, so I put them to work. My mother had put me on her accounts in case. This was the case. I pulled up her bank records on my phone and sat on the floor with my back against his couch. It wasn't one transfer. Lauren had asked Mom to pay the repair bills directly. Easier, she'd said. So the money had gone out in 2 pieces. February 19th, debit card, Precision Collision, $187.40. $1,200 went to the body shop, I said. And the other $3,800? I scrolled. A name appeared. M. Alvarez, February 22nd. Zelle, M. Alvarez, $3,812.60. Memo line, in my mother's careful typing, repair balance. Ethan's face went tight. He grabbed his laptop and turned the screen toward me. The same name. A payment request from 2 years ago, asking him to cover money Laura owed her. PayPal, $6,400 from a Marisol Alvarez. The note read, Laura Pruitt owes me this. She said you'd cover it. He had never met Marisol Alvarez. She borrows from one person, I said slowly, then gets money from someone new to pay the previous debt. Ethan opened more files. Screenshots, messages, different names, same story. A roommate named Janelle, $1,500 in rent from 2020. A coworker, Brent, $2,600 for her mom's surgery, with a photo of a hospital bracelet that had somebody else's date of birth on it. He'd kept all of it in one folder, the way an engineer keeps a failure report, not to reopen it, just so it would exist. How many people are there? Enough. It sat in the room for a while. Here's the thing about the M. Alvarez payment. Lauren had told my mother that the shop's owner preferred Zelle to avoid card fees, sat beside her at her kitchen table, helped her set up the app, and had a 70-year-old woman wire money to a creditor she'd been running from for 3 years. My mother had, without knowing it, paid off the one person who'd found Laura Pruitt. Mom was the new money. That's all she'd ever been to her. I reached for my phone to call Kyle. Then I stopped. If I warn Kyle tonight, she gets almost 24 hours to invent an explanation. You don't give the other side time to amend. You put the paper on the table, all at once, and let the paper do the talking. I printed Mom's transfers. Ethan added his messages and the photograph. He wrote one word on a strip of masking tape and pressed it under the picture. By the time I closed the folder, Lauren's past and my mother's missing money were sitting side by side. Lauren arrived at 7 the next night. She sat beside Kyle, smiling as though nothing in the world could touch her. Green dress. She'd done her hair. She'd brought a bottle of wine and she hugged my mother at the door, and my mother hugged her back because my mother is a better person than I am. Dinner was at my place because Mom's refrigerator was a warm box of spoiled milk. I'd made her pot roast in her Dutch oven on her Corelle plates. Ethan had parked around the corner at 6:50 and texted me one word. Here. It was a nice dinner. That's the part I can't get over. Kyle told a story about a customer's cat living inside a furnace, and Lauren laughed in the right places, and I watched her and thought, she thinks this is the apology dinner. She thinks I'm the one who came around. I brought coffee to the table. The doorbell rang. I'll get it. Ethan stood on the porch holding the folder. Lauren saw him, and every bit of color disappeared from her face. What is he doing here? Kyle frowned. You know him? Who invited him? She was looking straight at me. Get him out. Nobody moved. I said get him out. He has no right to be here. Ethan walked to the table and placed the folder in front of Kyle. Ask her where Mom's $5,000 actually went, I said. Kyle opened it. Mom's bank records. Ethan's screenshots. And on top, the photograph with a name written underneath. Kyle looked up at his wife. Who is Laura? There's a version of this where she folds. I've seen it. Some people, when the paper comes out, just set down the fork. Lauren wasn't one of those people. I watched her decide. It took her about 3 seconds and it went across her face like weather. The white, the rage, and then very fast, something softer and more useful. Kyle, her voice shook. Her eyes went wet. I changed my name because of him. He wouldn't leave me alone. I had to disappear. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to look at me like this. Ethan, to his enormous credit, did not argue. He said one sentence. Ask her who Marisol Alvarez is. She went around it. This is Rachel, she said. This is what she does. She digs. She's been waiting for a reason to take you away from me since the day we met. Kyle was turning pages. I watched him get to the second one, the Zell to M. Alvarez, and stop. And look at the top of the statement, at whose account it was. Mom, he said. What $5,000? My mother put her coffee cup down. She asked me not to tell you, Mom said. She said you'd be embarrassed. I think that was the worst moment of the night for my brother. Not the name, not the photograph. The picture of his wife at his mother's kitchen table saying, don't tell Kyle. We're leaving, Lauren said. She had her purse. She had her keys. Kyle, we are leaving right now. He stood. He looked at the folder for a long second, and then he looked at me, and I couldn't read it, and that frightened me more than anything Lauren had said. I'm going to take my wife home, he said. I need to talk to my wife. He didn't take the folder. I noticed that. I noticed it for a week. Ethan put the folder back in his car. My mother washed the Corelle by hand. I stood at the sink next to her and waited for her to say, I told you so, and she didn't. And then she said, she did come to dinner, and I said, she did. And that was the whole conversation. Monday morning, I bought my mother a refrigerator. Frigidaire, 20 cubic feet, top freezer, $149 at Lowe's, delivered Tuesday. She tried to argue. I told her she could pay me back when Lauren paid her back, and that shut us both up. At lunch from my car, I called Precision Collision. I didn't use my title. I didn't have to. My mother was the payer on that invoice, and a body shop will email a paid invoice to the payer without thinking twice. Dev Bhatt, the owner, pulled it up while I was on the phone. Repair order opened February 17, 2019 Honda Civic. Rear bumper cover, replace and refinish, blend left quarter. What at a $187.40. Customer pay, no claim filed. Under customer states, in the text handwriting, backed into post. Not a collision. Not another car. A parking post, and a bumper, and a little paint. Lauren had told my mother someone hit her. It was the cleanest, dullest piece of paper I'd seen all week, and it turned my stomach over because it meant the accident had been real, just small, and the story had been built on top of it, like a house on a shed. Tuesday, I took Mom to the credit union. Priya Natarajan has been a fraud prevention specialist at Foothill Community for 9 years, and she did not give us the answer we wanted. The transfers were authorized. My mother had made them herself, from her own device, with her own passcode. As far as the money was concerned, that was a loan gone bad, and there was nothing to reverse. Then she asked my mother what Lauren had said about the Zelle payment, and my mother told her, and Priya's face changed. Mrs. Brandt, I'm required to tell you something, she said. Under California law, financial institutions are mandated reporters for suspected financial abuse of anyone 65 or older. A family member inducing a transfer under a false description of where the money was going meets the threshold. I'm filing a report with Adult Protective Services today. I wanted you to hear it from me. My mother, who had not cried once, said, Oh, honey, I'm not abused. I was just stupid. You weren't stupid, Priya said. You were lied to by someone you trusted. That's the entire definition. She printed certified copies of both transactions. Exhibit A. I wasn't calling it that yet. I would. Tuesday night, the family group text lit up. Lauren had been busy. She'd written a long message to the whole Brandt side. In it, Ethan was an ex who'd harassed her so badly she'd had to change her name and move. I was the sister who'd never liked her and had brought a man who stalked me to a family dinner to humiliate her. And the money, she'd paid Carol back. In cash. In July. Carol has been forgetting things lately, she wrote, and I've been so worried about her. And I think this is part of that. My Aunt Patty replied first. Rachel, this is not how we handle things in this family. I read that message 4 times. Then I screenshotted the whole thread because the woman who'd laughed at me on Saturday had just put in writing that my mother was losing her mind, and that was going to matter. Kyle didn't reply to the thread. Kyle didn't reply to me either. I called him Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, straight to voicemail. Thursday afternoon, Denise Okafor from County Adult Protective Services came to my mother's mother's house. MSW, 14 years in the job, calm in a way that made the room calm. She listened for an hour and 40 minutes. She asked the same 3 questions in different ways, and I recognized the technique, and I let my mother be my mother. Mom got up at one point and came back with her check register, the paper one. She's kept a paper register since 1979, and on the page for February, in the margin next to the $3,812.60, she'd written in blue ballpoint, Lauren, loan, due June, and next to the body shop charge, the same hand, Lauren, car. Denise looked at it for a long moment. Mrs. Brandt, she said, did you write this the same day? I write everything the same day. I ran a doctor's office for 31 years. Denise wrote for a while. Most family loans that went sideways weren't her business, she said. What made this one her business was the description of the Zelle payment, the instruction to keep it from Kyle, and now a group text asserting that the victim was cognitively impaired because a confused victim can't testify. She'd be noting in her file that she'd found Mrs. Brandt alert, oriented, consistent, and in possession of her own records. And she'd be sending a referral to the police department's financial crimes unit. I can't promise they'll take it, she said. I can promise it won't be a voicemail anymore. Friday at 4:20 in the afternoon, my phone rang with a number I didn't know. Detective Ray Castellano, financial crimes, 19 years. He had the APS referral in front of him. Ms. Brandt, I get 10 of these a month and 9 are civil. A loan is a loan. People regret loans. So I need you to tell me what makes this the 10th one. I told him about the Zelle payment to Emsa Alvarez, the body shop invoice, Ethan's folder, the PayPal request, the name Laura Pruitt, the group text. There was a silence on the line that I've come to think of as the sound of a case being born. Tell me the name again, he said. The one she used before. Laura Ann Pruitt. Okay, he said. Here's what I need. Your mother, in my office, giving a statement. Your boyfriend bringing me originals, not printouts, because a defense attorney's first word is going to be screenshot. And I need Alvarez. If she'll say where that money came from and why, that's a second victim and a pattern. And a pattern is what the DA reads past the word loan for. He asked if I'd kept notes. I told him about the 9:14 a.m. file note. He asked what I did for a living. I told him. Huh, he said. Keep doing that. Monday, Margaret Lindqvist, 22 years in elder law, a state bar certified specialist in estate, trust, and probate, an office above a tax preparer downtown, and a paralegal named Denny, who was, I'd learn, the most dangerous person in the building. She explained the civil side in 6 minutes, including a statute, welfare, and institutions code section 156575 that puts attorney's fees on top of damages if you prove financial abuse of an elder. That, she said, is the difference between getting $5,000 back and making this expensive for her. I'd like to make it expensive for her. Then she asked Denny to pull something I hadn't thought to pull. A legal name change in California is a court petition, and court petitions are public. Denny found it in 40 minutes. Sacramento County Superior Court filed 2 years and 9 months ago. Petition of Laura Ann Pruitt for change of name to Lauren Ann Sayer. Reason for change. Petitioner has used the proposed name socially for several years and wishes to conform her legal name to it. Kyle had met Lauren Sayer 2 years and 4 months ago. She'd been Lauren Sayer for about 3 months, and the filing date was 33 days after a small claims judgment in the same courthouse. Marisol Alvarez versus Laura A. Pruitt, $6,400 plus costs, entered in Laura's absence. Lindqvist laid the 2 documents side by side on her desk and looked at them the way my mother looks at a bill that's wrong. She didn't change her name because of an ex, she said. She changed it 33 days after someone got a judgment against her. That's not trauma. That's a business decision. Exhibit E. I was calling them that now. Then it all went wrong at once, which is how it goes. Tuesday, Ethan was served at work in the lobby of the county engineering building in front of his supervisor. Lauren had gone to the courthouse Monday and filed for a civil harassment restraining order against him and against me. The petition, signed under penalty of perjury, said Ethan was an ex-boyfriend who had stalked and harassed her for years, that she had changed her name to escape him, and that she and he had no financial dealings whatsoever. The judge had done what judges do with these on an ex parte Monday, which is err on the side of the person crying in the courtroom. Temporary order granted as to Ethan, pending a hearing on November 25th. Denied as to me, for lack of any specific conduct alleged, but until a judge heard otherwise, Ethan could not come within 100 yards of my brother, and there was an order in a courthouse with his name and the word harassment on it. He called me from his car. She told them I'm the reason, he said. She told them I'm the reason she ran. Wednesday morning, Castellano called. He'd walked the file over to the DA's elder abuse unit for a preliminary read, and the supervising deputy, a man named Marcus Hale, had sent it back with a note. Family loan dispute, single victim, authorized transfers, no second complainant on record, decline unless pattern witness is secured. I need Alvarez, Castellano said. On paper, signed. I've called her 3 times. Marisol Alvarez wasn't calling anyone back. She had her money. She'd been chasing Laura Pruitt for 3 years, and she was done. Wednesday at 11:40 p.m., Kyle called. He was in his truck, parked at the end of his own street. I didn't ask why. Is it true? He said. It wasn't really a question. Which part? Any of it. All of it, Kyle. He breathed for a while. She took $11,000 out of savings this morning, he said. The house fund. She said we need to separate our finances until your family stops going after her. And she's been on the phone with someone about an apartment in Reno. She thinks I don't know. I didn't know about Mom. Rach, I swear to God I didn't know about Mom. I know you didn't. What do I do? Here's what I had all at once on a Wednesday night. A restraining order on the man with the originals, a district attorney who'd already written decline, a witness gone dark, a sister-in-law with $11,000 in cash and an apartment in another state, and a brother finally on the phone asking me what to do. Castellano had been clear. Don't share the case file with the husband. He doesn't have to mean to tip her off. Lindqvist had been clearer. Anything you say to Kyle, she will call orchestration at the hearing. You are not the one under an order, Rachel. Keep it that way. So the choice was this. Tell my brother everything tonight and risk the case, and the hearing, and Ethan. Or tell him nothing. Keep it clean and let him sleep one more night next to a woman with a bag packed. It was tonight or never. I didn't have 24 hours. I had until she got in the Civic. I didn't give him the file. I gave him 3 sentences. Go to the credit union tomorrow morning and open an account in your name only and move your paycheck. Call a family law attorney before noon. I'll text you a name. And Kyle, go look at your marriage license and tell me what name is on it. I know what name is on it. Go look anyway. Thursday at 5:15 p.m., my mother called me. My mother does not call me. In 38 years, I can count it on one hand. The night Dad went into the hospital, the morning he passed, the day her sister fell. So when her name came up on my phone, my whole body went cold before I'd answered. Lauren's in the driveway, Mom said. Calm. Office manager, calm. She wants me to sign something. Don't open the door. I already opened the door, Rachel. I'm not a child. She's on the porch. I've got the screen locked. What is it? She says it's a letter for their taxes. So the bank doesn't think the $5,000 was income for her. It says I gave it to her as a gift. A pause. It's dated in February. A gift letter. Backdated. Typed. With a signature line for Carol Brandt. I was 25 minutes away. I put the phone on speaker and drove. Mom, do not sign it. Tell her you'll read it with your glasses on. What my mother said to Lauren through a locked screen door was this. I know because she told me, and because Lauren later under oath did not dispute it. I'm not signing anything I haven't read, and I'm not reading anything tonight. Leave it. I'll look at it with my glasses on, and you can come back Saturday. And Lauren, who had talked a 70-year-old woman into wiring her money to a stranger, who had talked a judge into a restraining order in one afternoon, who had never once in her life met a piece of paper she couldn't talk her way around, slid the letter through the gap in the screen and said, Saturday then, and left. She left it. When I got there, my mother was sitting at her kitchen table with the letter in front of her and her reading glasses on, and she looked up at me and said, well, I read it. Exhibit F. A typed document dated February 22nd stating that Carol Brandt had made an unconditional gift of $5,000 to her daughter-in-law out of love and with no expectation of repayment, with a line for my mother's signature. Lauren had taken the lie she'd told the whole family by text and written it down, dated it, and handed it to the one person in the world with a paper check register. I took a picture of it where it lay. Then I put it in a sheet protector, because that's what you do. At 11:52 that night, Kyle texted me a photograph of his marriage license, Lauren Ann Sayer. I sent him back one thing, not the file, a public record, the legal notice Denny had pulled from the Sacramento Papers archive, 4 lines of tiny type, petition of Laura Ann Pruitt for change of name to Lauren Ann Sayer, and the date. He didn't answer for 11 minutes. Then, I asked her once why her license said Sayer and her old gym card said something else. She said the gym got it wrong. I believed her. I'm at Mom's. I'm staying here tonight. Friday morning at 6:05 a.m., I called Marisol Alvarez myself. Not Ethan, not the detective. Me as Carol Brandt's daughter, which was the only thing I had that the other two didn't. She picked up on the 4th ring and said, I'm not doing this, before I'd said a word. I'm not asking you to give anything back, I said. The money's yours. You earned that judgment. I'm asking you to say where it came from. Silence. My mother is 70 years old. She thought she was paying a body shop. She thought you were the owner. A long breath on the other end. She told me it was her own money, Marisol said finally. She said she'd settle for $3,800 if I'd file the satisfaction and leave her alone. She said she'd finally gotten her life together. Another breath. I almost didn't take it, and then I thought, just be done. She paid it with my mother's refrigerator. Marisol gave her statement to Castellano at 10:30 that morning, by phone, and signed a declaration by email at 2:15. Exhibit D. She attached the messages. Lauren had written, in January, I'm not that person anymore. I have a husband now. Please don't take this from me. And then, the day before the Zelle, sending it from my own account. It's mine. You'll have it Friday. It came from my mother's account. It had my mother's memo line on it. Castellano called me at 3:40. That's my second victim, he said. That's my pattern. And your mother's gift letter is the best piece of paper in the file. I'm walking it back over to Hale on Monday. I could tell you the rest in order, but you know the shape of it now, and so did she. She left Kyle's house that Saturday, with 2 suitcases and the Civic, and went, it turned out, to her parents' place in Carson City. Reno had been the true one. November 25th, Department 14, Judge Patricia Nwosu, civil harassment hearing on the petition of Lauren Brandt. Ethan appeared with a litigator Lindqvist had sent him to, a woman named Sujin Park, who put exactly 4 documents in front of the court. Ethan's bank statement showing a $5,000 Zelle to Laura Pruitt 3.5 years earlier, the PayPal request from Marisol Alvarez, the small claims judgment, and the name change petition with its 33-day gap. Lauren had sworn in her own petition to no financial dealings whatsoever. Judge Nwosu asked Lauren one question. Ms. Brandt, is Laura Ann Pruitt your name? It was. Then is it your testimony today that you had no financial dealings with with the respondent? Lauren's attorney asked for a moment. The judge gave him one. It didn't help. Petition denied. Temporary order dissolved. And because the statute lets the prevailing party ask for them, $2,250 in attorney's fees payable by the petitioner to Ethan Marsh. The judge did not say the word perjury. She said for the record that she found the petitioner's credibility substantially undermined by her own filings, which Park told us on the courthouse steps is how a judge says it. 2 days later, my family met my boyfriend at Thanksgiving. My mother made him sit at the head of the table. Kyle shook his hand, held it a second longer than he had to, and said, "Sorry about the porch." Ethan said, "Sorry about the folder." That was the whole conversation, and it was enough. December, Kyle filed for divorce. His attorney, Angela Dubois, 15 years in family law, explained to him, and then to me because he asked her to, that the marriage was legal, because the name was legal, because that's what a name change is for. But the $11,000 from the house fund was community property taken without consent on the way out the door, and California's family code has a section for that, and Lauren would be reimbursing it with interest, whether she liked the idea or not. January 14th, Lauren surrendered at the Financial Crimes Unit with her attorney. Detective Castellano booked her himself. Penal Code Section 368D. Theft from an elder, a felony for amounts over $950. Penal Code Section 532. Theft by false pretenses. Ethan's $5,000 was too old and, as Hale put it, too voluntary to charge, but under Evidence Code 1101B, the prior acts came in to show a common plan, and Hale called it 1101B, and I called it the part where she stopped being able to say misunderstanding. The arrest went in the paper. 2 people called the detective the week after. A former landlord in Sacramento, a man she'd met on an app in 2019 who'd sent her $2,000 for a flight to her dying father. Her father, Castellano confirmed, lives in Carson City and is in excellent health. 9 years, he told me. 6 names that I know of. 19 years on this job, Ms. Brandt. I've never seen one of these people stop on their own. March, she pleaded. May 12th, sentencing. Her attorney said the words family loan. He said them more than once. He said his client had made a mistake in a difficult year, that this was a misunderstanding inflamed by a family conflict, that she had brought restitution to the court today, and he handed the clerk a cashier's check for $5,000, drawn, I would later learn, on her parents' account in Carson City. And then Deputy District Attorney Hale put Exhibit F on the screen, the gift letter, dated February 22nd, typed, "Out of love and with no expectation of repayment." He read the date. He read the group text from Tuesday, October 28th, the one that said Carol had been paid back in cash in July. He set them next to each other, the way Lindqvist had set the petition next to the judgment, and he let the room do the arithmetic. My mother gave her statement sitting down. Judge's permission. It was short. "I saved that money for 22 years, she said, in case something broke. A refrigerator, I figured. A water heater. Something." She looked at Lauren for the first time all day. "I didn't figure on this. 3 years formal probation, 90 days county jail, which for a first felony and a restitution check is about what it is. Restitution to my mother, paid in full. Restitution to the landlord and the man with the dying father. A stay-away order as to Carol Brandt. And a note in the file that if she completed probation without a violation, she could petition to have it reduced to a misdemeanor, which Lindqvist told me is how it works, and which I've made my peace with, mostly." She walked out of that courtroom a convicted felon with a stay-away order from a woman she'd called mom at her own wedding. She'll pay Ethan's $2,850. She'll pay Kyle's $11,000. She'll pay the landlord. Her name is on a public record again. A different kind this time, under all 3 of the names she's used, so that the next person who goes looking will find it. She wanted to know what a retired woman needs with $5,000. It turns out you can answer that question in a courtroom, with a check register and a sheet protector, and never raise your voice once. It's June. Kyle's divorce will be final in July. He lives in his house, alone, with a dog he didn't plan on, and he comes to mom's on Saturdays now, which means I've had to start coming Sundays so she doesn't think we're organized. Ethan's folder went into a box in the garage. He asked me if he should throw it out. I told him engineers don't throw out failure reports, and he laughed for the first time about any of it. Marisol Alvarez sent my mother a card. I don't know what it said. Mom put it in the drawer with the check register, and the refrigerator hums. Frigidaire, 20 cubic feet, 1,149. The week the restitution cleared, my mother wrote me a check for exactly that amount, and left it on my counter without a word because she doesn't call, she shows up. I haven't cashed it. It's on my own fridge under a magnet shaped like the state of California, and the memo line in blue ballpoint in the hand that's kept a paper register since 1979 says, "Refrigerator. Thank you for coming over." She still doesn't call when something breaks. I still go.